What's happening, people? I hope you're all well. Jordan Henderson here with Aaron Joshua, and this is the J&J Boxing Podcast. So, this weekend, Gassiev versus Wallin, a heavyweight fight that's been a little bit under the radar, to be honest with you. But I'm going to ask you, what are your opening thoughts with regards to when you heard this fight was getting made?
So in terms of my opening thoughts, I thought it was a very good fight. I think these type of fights in especially the heavyweight division needs to happen. It's B-rated fighters fighting B-rated fighters, not just sitting on a good ranking there trying to test each other. So I think that's a fight they both needed. I think they lost momentum after their respective losses, and I think that's just a fight. The winner, it's all guns ahead for the winner. So I think it's a good fight.
Yeah, man, I definitely think it's a good fight as well. I think that they're risking a lot because how old is Wallin? Wallin's 32, Gassiev 29, fair enough, but they're both on an upward surge towards a title push. They're trying to campaign to get into a position to fight for a title, and the loser, they're gonna have to start from the beginning. So rather than carefully manage their way through, they're both taking a risk here. What are your thoughts of Wallin in general? Because I know a lot of people see him as this avoided fighter, a fighter who gave Tyson Fury a real good fight. What are your thoughts on Wallin overall as a fighter in the heavyweight division?
So in terms of Wallin, I think he's a capable fighter, good fighter. I wouldn't say he's a great fighter. I think he's a good fighter. Got the fundamentals. I would say he's a top European level fighter, I would say. I think he's good enough to beat the European champion, but is, as we've seen, not good enough to step world level. So I would say he's a top 15, top 20 heavyweight. I would. That's where I'd rank it probably. Nothing spectacular. Got good boxing fundamentals. Has decent wins. Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Before the Tyson Fury fight, I didn't rate him too highly. I'd actually seen him before, and I know that. I remember there was a point when it was him and it was Adrian Granat coming out of Sweden, I believe. And I was actually more impressed with Adrian Granat. I know it didn't turn out that way, but I was actually more impressed with Granat. Then Granat obviously went on to get knocked out by Dimitrenko and then
in the first round.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I became aware of him quite early on in his pro career, but I was never really too impressed with him. I feel like he's a bit of a steady Eddie. Like he kind of does everything competent, but there's no special effects.
Yeah, exactly that.
So as a fighter, I think he's solid. I think he's one of those guys who on their day could give an underperforming top heavyweight a run for their money. Like if they're underperforming on the night and he's on his A game, he could give them some trouble.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts of? It's a funny question because we're talking Gassiev's now a heavyweight, so I'm going to ask you what your thoughts are of him overall as a fighter, and then I want to ask, like, as sort of as an extension, how do you think that is going to translate into heavyweight?
Well, I think Gassiev's style is more suited to heavyweight just because he doesn't have the best feet. We've seen him try to chase down opponents before. He doesn't cut off the ring, he follows them. So someone who is more stationary, I think is more accustomed to his style. All I know about Gassiev is that he's a monstrous puncher. I think it was Chris Ariola who has fought hard punchers, who's fought for Vitali Klitschko, who's fought Deontay Wilder. He said the hardest puncher he's ever been in the ring with was Gassiev in sparring. So that's a big compliment. So in terms of Gassiev, he hasn't had the best body of work at heavyweight, but I do think this is his coming out fight. I do think he's there to make a statement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gassiev's a good fighter. I think that everyone has that style that doesn't suit them. And I think Usyk, back in his cruiserweight days and when Usyk's footwork was at his infancy, that was just like a horrible stylistic matchup for Gassiev.
Exactly, yeah.
If you kind of put that to the side and you look at his other body of work, I think he fought Dorticus. Didn't he knock out Dorticus?
Yeah, knocked out Dorticus. I think it was the last round.
Yeah, I think so as well. And Dorticus is a tough customer. And then what else did he do? Cruiserweight. Lebedev, he beat Lebedev. He was obviously champion. and he was making some moves at cruiserweight. So I think that moving up to heavyweight, I think you're right. That style may suit him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was to fight Usyk again. It'll be a lot closer.
Yeah.
At heavyweight. So I think Gassiev moving up. The only concern I have is when did he move up? So he moved up in 2020 against Nuri Safiri. And since 2020, he's had 3 fights. And those fights were against Michael Wallace, a guy called Welch, and Mike Balogun, who I actually know because he beat one of the Morrison sons. He beat one of them to their own.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
But he beat all of them, no problem at all. But they're not the best opposition. So I don't think he's really gradually had the heavyweight step ups. So I'm wondering, is he going to underperform now he is finally stepping up? But I'm going to ask you, how do you think this fight plays out stylistically? How do you think it's going to play out?
Well, I'm assuming it's a 12-round fight, so I'm going to break it down. I think for the first 5-6 rounds, just based on pure activity, Wallin would probably be ahead. I reckon it'll be a 4-2, maybe 3-3, but I'm thinking a 4-2 after 6, just because Gassiev does have that style that he doesn't mind taking punches to the gloves. He doesn't mind march forward. Wallin will be doing his body of work. But I do think one thing that we do discount as Wallin tends to struggle down the line. I don't think he has the best stamina. I watched him against Brazil. He was lighting up Brazil. Brazil didn't come back into it, but he was certainly competitive towards the back end of the fight. I think against Sokolowski, he didn't do good at all. And then obviously against Fury, who wasn't this monstrous puncher back when they fought, hurt him late. So I think when Wallin does slow down, I think that's when Gassiev will get him. And I'm not going to ruin my prediction, but all I'm going to say is that I don't think he'll hear the final bell.
Yeah, I don't think you'll hear the final bell for this fight either. Only thing with me, I think that if I'm looking at what you said, I can definitely see a scenario like that playing out. Gassiev kind of with the high guard, like steady pressure, and then Wallin maybe making Wallin work more than he wants to, but losing some rounds. As we've seen in the past, Gassiev doesn't mind losing rounds at the start. So I can definitely see a scenario unfold where Wallin is ahead after a few rounds, but I definitely see Gassiev. If I'm going to ask you this, because this is literally just coming to my mind just now, do you think the southpaw element of this fight is going to have any bearing on the outcome?
I don't think the southpaw element will. I just think it was a movement of Usyk that really threw off Gassiev. Gassiev is a very stationary fighter. And I don't even want to say that Wallin's a pound shot version of Usyk, because he's not. He doesn't move as much as Usyk. I think he's a bit sloppy. I think his defense is suspect. So in certain elements, certain shots will fade Gassiev, but overall, I don't think it'll be a massive issue that I'm leaning more to one side than the other.
Mm-hmm. That's fair enough. I don't know. I don't think it will play as a significant role if it was a southpaw that really utilizes the southpaw stance, like Luis Ortiz, for example. Or there's another fighter, Cuban southpaw, who just I can't remember the guy's name.
Is it Pero?
Yeah, I think it's Piro.
Yeah.
Actual southpaw. Southpaw stance properly. I don't think Otto Wallin utilizes it as much. So I think that I think Gassiev is going to be able to sort of move past that and not make it so much of an obstacle. So I'm going to quickly say I think this fight's going to play. I think this fight's going to play out simply. Wallin on the back foot, working his southpaw jab, picking up rounds, but working more than he wants to. And I think Gassiev is probably going to march forward, maybe lose a few rounds, but I think if anything, he's going to be targeting that body first. I think it's going to be hitting body, elbows, arms, shoulders. I think that's where Gassiev's going to be mainly landing. And then I think that as the fight progresses into the mid-late rounds, I think that Wallin is going to slow down, as you said. I think Wallin is going to slow down. I think his feet are going to slow down. And as his feet slow down, I think that's when Gassiev is going to start landing big meaty hooks, left hooks, right hands. And I think that he's going to wear Wallin down. I think that Wallin is probably going to find himself more and more in corners. Even against Brazil, you said it to me, like he ended up backing in corners towards the end of the fight. And I think that although Gassiev isn't quick, I think he's got faster feet than Brazil. So I think that once that happens, I think that Gassiev is going to start hurting Wallin, and Wallin's gutsy, so I can see him maybe weathering the storm, being hurt a few times. But I definitely see. I'm going to lay it down here. I think that Gassiev is going to go one better than Fury and get the stoppage.
Yeah, I agree. Styles make fights. I think he's going to stop him, and I think it'll be a bad stoppage. Mm-hmm. And I think that will announce Gassiev into the division. I think more fighters need to step up like these two. I think B grade fighters need to fight B grade fighters. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting.
And do you think so? We're both kind of sort of together on this. We both feel like Gassiev is going to get it done inside the distance. Do you think that Gassiev is a threat to say the top? I think top 10 is without a doubt. But do you think the top 5 he's a threat? Can you see him threatening anyone in the top 5?
Well, without going a bit away from the point, in your top 5, who is in your top 5? I'm assuming not in order: Fury, Usyk, Joshua, Wilder, Zhang. Is that your top 5?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of debate. I see what you're saying. I kind of assume that you knew who my top 5 was.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I don't even fully know the other. It's kind of like it's that realm of fighters, like Fury, Joshua, Usyk. Some would say Ruiz, Wilder, like those type of names. Like, do you think that Gassiev causes a threat to those fighters?
So, I think he's a threat to Andy Ruiz. I think he's a massive threat to Andy Ruiz, and I only see what he looks like, but I'm going to hold my judgment for that. That's a different conversation, but I think he's a massive threat to Ruiz. I think he's 6'3", so I don't think he'll be I think he's too slow-footed for Wilder. I think he'll walk into a shot. That guard up, we've seen Wilder punch through that.
Yeah.
I think in terms of Joshua, I think he's too slow-footed. Maybe the height will cause issues, but I think sometimes Joshua gets really, really, really underrated. And I think someone like that, just walking at Joshua, all those fast combinations that he does, I think will just go through the guard. I think with Zhang, I think that's be very competitive just because Zhang has slow feet. So that is a trade-up. And it'll be interesting to see the dynamic of that. I think we need to understand that Zhang has struggled with short opponents in the past. So I think that'd be an interesting element. Usyk, I think he's got the best chance of beating that out of Fury and Usyk. But Usyk slowed down. Usyk will, obviously, because he's slowed down, he's now more hittable. So I think that power, you're going to get hit hard. So yeah, I would say that's definitely a thing. And Fury, I don't think he's a problem for this. Yeah, I still don't think he's a problem for Fury.
Fair enough. So overall, I'm getting the sentiment that you think he can be competitive against some of those fighters.
I think he can be competitive against all of those fighters, but I don't think he beats a lot of them. But I do think he's got the best chance of beating Zhang. I think I don't want to say it, but if Ruiz, let's just say, if I had a gun to my head, Ruiz and Gassiev, I'm picking Gassiev.
Fair enough. I think the only thing for me is I want to see him take a heavyweight shot.
Exactly, yeah.
So there are some unknowns there. But, kind of just on the spot, what we're saying now, I do see where you're coming from. And I do think he's a threat. How much of a threat? It depends on how much translates from the cruiserweight division over to heavyweight. If he can take a lot of what he took over, he doesn't even need to take all of it over, because I don't think Usyk took everything from cruiserweight to heavyweight.
Yeah.
But if he can
if he can take enough to compete, then that's more than enough. So
definitely.
Yeah.
So we've both got Gassiev. Is there any closing thoughts? Anything you kind of want to add?
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. Like I would say Gassiev is a natural heavyweight. He was very big at cruiserweight. I would say he's definitely the bigger puncher out of the two. And I'm just really looking forward to the fight, honestly. It'll be interesting to see where the winner goes and the loser. I think the loser could be fed to up-and-comer or someone that's just taken a loss. But if the loser gets beaten relatively badly, I can see him getting thrown with someone like Jared Anderson, Makhmudov, Jalalov. if they put up a good, even a Dubois, I know he's not an up and comer, but you know what I mean. So I think the winner is knocking on the door of the top 10. So I think someone like a Hergovic will fight the winner. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think Hergovic will get the Mando spot, but I'm just talking about someone similar to that level.
Yeah, man, I definitely see where you're coming from. It's not exactly loser like retire, but it definitely is it's a long way back for the loser.
It's basically
Both,
a loser doesn't push on. Still there, but doesn't push on.
yeah, and they've both been in obscurity, so that hasn't helped either of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So me and Aaron, that's the J&J Boxing Podcast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you like the video, and make sure that you come check regularly. See the live streams, our obviously our videos like this, and we're going to be posting much more in the future. So enjoy the rest of your day, and
Take care,
we'll
guys.
see you on the next video.